Okay.
Let's go and begin.
All right. Hi, everyone. So today will be Kayla's intern graduation presentation. So we have Jing, who is like the CEO of Bukit Vista,
Yeah!
BD, who is the COO, and also the vice chapter lead of BI, and Lily, who is the chapter lead BI. Why BD looks so shocked? But okay. All right. Okay. So without further ado, Kayla, you can have your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Jenna, for your introduction and also for organizing this session. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kayla or Kyla. I have been a data science intern for the past 3 months here in Bukit Vista, and today I would like to share some of the things I've learned and I guess some suggestions that I also have future notes. For the outline today is actually according to what Jenna told me. So I don't know if there's anything we can add, we can discuss further later, of course. This is just a short presentation. So first, for some of the soft skills I learned throughout my time here, these are just a few, and of course, not in particular order. The first I'll talk about is self-assessment. I want to contribute this to the session we have every week, and through this session, I really learned to reflect on what I've learned and how I've grown and stuff like that, every week. So that's one thing I'm trying also to adapt in my life. And I want to continue adapting that even though I'm not working with Bukit Vista anymore. And accountability, this I learned by having our tools like Trello and Slack, because everything you do I write on Trello. And so it's a good thing for employees to really make sure what they're doing is correct and impactful, and just keeping ourselves accountable for whatever we're doing in general. So, and then uncertainty tolerance. Okay, so this is one of the biggest things I've learned actually here, is that when I first joined, everything was very abstract. I had a really vague idea of what the company did. So everything was very uncertain. And at first I was very uncomfortable with that, because I'm used to in college, classes are very okay, you just have to learn this. And even when you have projects in college, you have an idea of what you're supposed to do, and you have an idea of what goal you're supposed to achieve and how you do it. But with this, everything was very vague for me. I had to learn to be comfortable with that and just work and learn, and I'll get through to the other side. And the next is obviously collaboration and teamwork, because there's a lot of work, especially with ES. I feel like a lot of our requests came from other chapters, and so I had to really communicate with other people and also within the team as well when we're discussing and stuff. And then there's written and spoken communication. Obviously, from everything that I've spoken before, it required a lot of communication with other, and especially since working in Bukit Vista is remote. So that was a really good learning experience for me. And the last one is assertiveness, in the sense that when I have an idea or I have something I want to express during discussions, I have to be sure of what I'm saying. I learned to be, more confident with whatever I'm expressing. So that's for some soft skills I learned. And the next is some of the projects I've done in the past and for the future would still be needed in the company, I suppose. The first is revenue projection, both for company and property. For the company, projection is actually project, I guess, but I helped for a few times. And for the property projection is something I held most of the time, but now I'm handing it over to Arya, I suppose. For these two, for the property, I feel like I'm more confident talking about that. I feel like there's still some room for improvement for that, but the one thing I mainly focused on throughout my time here was to really understand and help others to understand the script, because when I first saw the script, it was already made before. So, but when there were errors, I didn't really know how to handle it because I didn't understand what was going on. All I could do was just put in the inputs for each property and have the output and then send it over to community. But I tried to really understand it, because if there are errors, who's going to take care of it? And then community won't be able to do their job and communicate with property owners. So I tried to work through any errors and put it in a frequently asked question page in the best practice, so that future interns can understand what's going on in the script. And yeah, that's for the projection. And for the next is Redash optimization. By this, I'm really and helped me to add some visualizations that future, just the BI chapter might need in the future. And yeah, I think this is something that needs to be kept up in the future and keep Redash optimized and use it to our best, especially since we have other, what's it called? The other platform.
Tableau.
Tableau. Yeah, we have that blue, but it's still like the data there is not correct, right? So the visualizations from Tableau can be brought over to Redash. That's what I was trying to say. Thank you. And next is automating data for monthly newspaper. This is a project that's currently going on, and I'm working with this with Vera data analyst, and Arya from data scientist. And I think all three of us have our each sub project, I guess, because like I'm doing the automation property projection, and the others are doing their own thing for monthly newspaper for Jogja properties. And the deadline is on 15 July, but I'm going to be honest, I haven't really followed up to them in the past week. So I'm going to focus on that this weekend, hopefully. So that's from some projects I've done. And the next topic I'd like to discuss is some suggestions for my future successor, which I guess we're just like future DS interns. Some advice maybe I could give is to not be afraid to ask a lot of questions, because I feel as a data science intern, it requires like technical skills that I myself, to be honest, wasn't very confident in my own technical skills at first, because I'm not as experienced as KVD with data science or maybe some other interns. But so yeah, I was really scared to ask like stupid questions at first, but I shouldn't have been like that. Just ask. KVD will always help, right? Yes, thank you. And but also still do your own research. Just don't be like, how do you say? Don't just give up by not, when you don't know something, but really try to make use of the internet, because surprisingly, like there's a lot of resources out there for data science. And my last suggestion, this is I guess in general for DS, is to improve documentation for the projects we do. Like for instance, if we have a script for something, maybe we can attach like certain resources or tutorials, so that, because sometimes when I see the script, I don't always understand the syntax. So this is more for like technical side. So maybe like insert resources from like Kaggle or where we got the model from and stuff like that. So that's for my future successor. And okay, this is some things I guess future BV interns can learn from my personal experience here. First is to make resources. This is similar to what I discussed before. So just don't be afraid to ask. And this is also similar, the second point, get comfortable with being uncomfortable and take it as a sign you're about to grow. Yeah, it's similar to that something Kruger effect that I think Mr. Ching was the first mentioned that in All Hands, that there's like a certain curve you have to go through. That really made an impression on me. So that was like one of my first all hands, and I remember seeing that and I was like,
Yep, I remember that. Yeah, going from comfort zone to fear zone, and then learning,
yeah,
and then growth zone. I was inspired by Vidi
exactly.
from that, from the ZPD charts.
Sorry?
I got inspired to look for that particular graph actually from Vidi. He, in the very beginning, showed me this thing about zone of proximal development, and then that was kind of like an evolution of the idea of ZPD. So
oh, that's cool. Okay, thank you, sir. That's really cool. Yeah, so that's definitely something that stuck with me, and I think future BB interns can really relate and learn from that, because I feel like a lot of interns are also like college students, right? Indonesian college students, where I feel like, at least from ITB, there's this culture of like just going with whatever you're told to do from classes and stuff. So my next point is make every scrum and discussion session as a chance to get real feedback from your lead or mentor and new ideas from your peers. This was also from my personal experience, one of the things I was scared of. Like at first, like I remember being the chair for one of my first discussion. It was so terrifying for me to have to speak in front of everyone and like afraid of being wrong, but just take it easy, like make it as a chance to learn. So yeah, I think that's all from me. So I guess thank you for your time. Thank you for having me for the past 3 months, and good everyone. I don't know what to say. Okay.
Thank you, Kayla. Thank you for the presentation. Like I really enjoyed like how you mentioned like your soft skills, your projects, and like even things that you want to share to like BB interns. And I think like a lot of it like probably like for me I can relate because like I'm also an intern here, but and like yeah, but I think it's like a good time to share as well. Maybe like I would go to Lilis. Like, do you have anything you want to say?
I think actually, first, of course, thank you for Kayla to come to BV. Yeah, actually, from industrial engineering, I think we learn like not really a specific thing, right? We learn diverse thing, and in Bukit Vista, I think you can implement like any strategic thinking skills or even structural thinking and seeing the problem from the whole. I think that I can see you in discussing something. You can apply that. And Kayla is actually really good in communication and also driving discussion during our new format with the data science teams. And also the contribution on revenue projection things for the assistant is actually very helpful for the team and also BD team as the previous funnel who needs the output. And yeah, I think that's, and I hope Kayla can learn so much from here
I did definitely.
for the future careers. Thank you, Kayla.
Thank you very much, Kalilis.
Thank you for the feedback. Yeah, actually, I also agree. Like, even though I didn't get to work with you a lot, but like the small little projects that we did together, I can tell like you are pretty good at like communication skill also. So yeah, good job.
Thank you.
Maybe anything else you want to
Oh yeah, for sure. Hi, Menti. So yeah, Kayla is really interesting, right? So she's the first data scientist that doesn't come from like a computer background. That's what separates Kayla in terms of communication, I think. Like a lot of data scientists who came here from like tech background, I don't know, they have difficulty in expressing what they think, especially during discussion. So Kayla is somewhere like in between the data analyst and also data scientist. She can strategize and also can code at the same time. So that's actually one good thing about that as well. And I think there are a lot of things that Kayla didn't mention. For example, like having cover up for one of the SLA, which is the revenue projection. Like make sure that the revenue projection for the business development team is in time. She helped me a lot, right? Because the script is there, but sometimes it bugs. Sometimes there are a lot of problems with that, and then it's very operational. And she can always consistently like do that thing over and over again, like how many property is requested, right? Definitely help a lot on that. And I think for future employers, maybe if you give a task to Kayla, she will find a way to solve it. Maybe she don't know the answer right now. Like she came in with a very raw skill in coding, and then like yeah, just like what she mentioned, she will look for the solution anywhere, like in the internet, through her mentors, and so on and so forth. So yeah, thank you very much, Kayla, for these 3 months. Don't
Thank
be
you.
sad, yeah.
No,
Don't
of
be
course
sad.
not. Thank you,
Okay,
guys.
back to Jenna.
So, yeah, so I can tell that Kayla is like very resourceful person, someone who like she will go and look through and find the answer, even though she might not have the answer at hand, but she will still try her best to look for it. So maybe last but not least to Jing. Anything else you wanna say?
Sure. Actually, I've had very limited encounters with Kyla during her internship. The one time I do remember Kyla was actually at the BVE talk, and she had come to participate and help us with that. So that's really cool. But looking at, let's say, the summary of your internship and seeing the remarks, this is for everybody here, right? I think each generation of interns that we have through Bukit Vista is an upgrade to the culture. And by the statements that you've put forward about really preparing yourself for growth, I was quite inspired by that. A lot of people, I think, during the internship, they might lose focus and they think it's, I'm losing my work-life balance or start getting too stressed out. But I see what's actually happening is that, yes, you're actually getting more comfortable to deal with the real world. You're getting more comfortable to sort of see, when you're in school, a lot of the problems have already been solved before. That's why they're structured, right? The lesson the teacher is teaching has been taught countless times in the past. So you're just kind of walking down that pathway that's been pioneered many times. But when you're working in, let's say, a situation like here, where the problem itself isn't even defined, right? We have to go and find what the problem is, and then from that we have to define how to approach that with a measurement system. And then I think that is actually truer to, let's say, the nature of actual data science work in the real world, right? And in the part of the real world, hopefully, that you'd like to be. So I think now that you've had these growth experiences, hopefully that makes you feel more prepared and more confident in whatever you end up doing in the future. If you know that, hey, look, that pain is actually something that elevates you rather than drains you, then I think that's a really good discovery. Yeah. So anyway, I think your peers here have said good things about your leadership capabilities. I don't know if you actually discovered any of those during your internship here. But did you have any leadership experiences? You mentioned a little bit about sharing. Were there any other moments where you felt like, okay, I learned something about leadership during my internship?
Okay, thank you for the question, sir. I actually think one opportunity I had to be a leader during my time at Bukit Vista actually happened like in the past 2 weeks, which is like during the end of my internship, just through. Because before that, I was the only data scientist intern here, right? You can Kavidi. Like I didn't. Most of my peers in BI was from data analysts, so I didn't have a lot of like actual teamwork projects together. But this past few weeks, I've been working on automation for the monthly newspaper with Vera and Ari. And I guess because I was the oldest BV member there, I was like appointed as a leader of sorts, and without actually anyone saying it, because actually Kavidi was like, Kayla, you follow up on them. But yeah, I've been the best leader to them, though, I'm gonna be honest, because I've been working with my job. So I feel very sorry for that. But this weekend, as I said, I'm gonna try to do my best to follow up on them and see how they've been this past few weeks.
Okay.
So yeah, that's from me, Mr. Jang.
Cool. It's good to see that. And also, you come across as very articulate. And I think once you have actually developed, how would I say, emotional maturity control, right? You can actually like feel the fear, know how to process that fear, and then actually get control of your leadership situation. I think you'll be very effective. So no, that's pretty much it. Thanks for joining us during your internship, and I look forward to continuing our correspondence.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Jing, of course.
You're welcome.
Oh.
Okay, thank you everyone for giving your comments. Maybe like to Kayla, do you have any like final comments before we end off this session?
I feel like I've said a lot, but I guess one thing I haven't mentioned is that I'm sorry if I had any mistakes or wrong how to say in English, if I've said anything offensive, or and thank you very much for trusting me and having me in the company.
All right.
And yes, keep in touch.
Okay, thank you. So like like, everything will go well for you in like your new career, your new job. And like don't be a stranger. Like always come back, and like we'll always be here. Like I'm sure like many of us, like we will still be okay with like communicating with you. If you have like any questions, just feel free to ask. So
Yes.
thank you for coming everyone for today's Kayla's presentation. So thank you guys.
Oh, Jenna, one last thing I'd
Thank
like to add. It's actually, this is one of the benefits I thought about this internship program. There are probably in the high dozens, if not hundreds of past interns at Bukit Vista. So really tap into that alumni network too as well during your career. I find that a lot of them are situated in good jobs and good companies and such. So I think that can be a good pivot point. And I think most of them are somewhere all across Indonesia, if not the world, right? So that's another dimension of don't be the stranger, right? Like, and really leverage that network. Okay, that's my last piece. Yeah, back to.
Okay, thank you guys.